Sure. So less than 30 a year. So this is one thing that we need to discuss later. I mean, you all need to discuss at the requirement stage.
Okay.
Less than 30 a year to do it manually is not a big issue. Either Rowena and Nadira can just put one sheet in a computer and track it lah. Or we can put it in the system. Okay, which requires putting a system requires making sure that these items are inventorized, creating documents, updating the kind of thing, which is a little bit more leche, more control and so on. So maybe at this point, what do you all think? Do you want to do it manually on the system?
I feel that basically, since for the service items itself, we are not inventorizing into the system itself, the loan side could also be actually, like, you see, this is going to be all zero value because these are all the spares that we're going to support the customers, for example.
Correct, yes.
Okay? And these are not big items. So if it's a loan side, we can always create that, or somebody has loaned this, all right?
Yes.
So that, we can track on the monthly basis whether the loan has been returned or not, because a lot of time when you track manually, people don't they don't go through this thing and then they forget about it. See? So
there's no proper tracking currently.
Right. So I think it's good to, since we are going to have this system, it's always good to have it inside the service spares that is not inventorized, but those people who take it out from there, I'm not sure how whether, because if it's not inventorized, whether can it be deducted from there when they take out or not? You know what I mean?
Okay, so yeah, so I think that's a very good call from yourself, Iwa. I link back to the previous thing you're discussing, which is we would like to inventorize all those spares currently not inventorized, but with the value 0. We need to do that. And so then actually this is another effort. We will need to so-called have the items, have the description as a quantity, so that we can populate it in the inventory master when we migrate to the new system, but again, all with the value 0.
Oh, okay. The other thing is that for task, which I think can be done also, is that basically you inventorize in a different inventory. So then for those that is inventorized in W2 warehouse, is actually those that is under the current assets. Then those that is on the project and service side, we inventorize into another warehouse. Then basically whoever who take it, there must be some, that means like there will be some controller, like Nadira and Rowena will actually control that. That means whoever who needs to take that will have to get your approval. Yeah. And also of course can get sort. I'm sure. How do you all suggest to do it, Rowena and Nadira?
Definitely there must be someone who knows the in and out.
Correct. There must be somebody to control this thing, yes.
Currently, there's no controller. Okay. So there's need to be a so-called effort to so-called update the non-inventorized material master with all 0 value. You mentioned it's a separate warehouse. By the system, it could be maybe another inventory group or type of warehouse. So either one, we see which one is the best. Okay, good. Yeah, so what you're really thinking in terms of like IT system thinking, really, you're almost like a business architect,
Really?
which is very good. Yeah. You're getting there over time.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm actually not very good in this area.
I have 20 years experience. No, I have 20 years experience here, but I see that you're slowly getting there. As in, you may not know exactly how, but you can call from the high level. This is what I want for business, and you can articulate quite well.
Okay.
Yeah, but the thing is that you're not full-time on this project, so you need to make sure that you have other colleagues that can do this as well.
I think basically KK, I'm actually hoping that KK will oversee this thing, Kai. I hope basically it's not going to be easy because basically Rowena and Nadira actually as one team itself will have to explore this system. And I think there's a lot of things I realized that for MS Dynamics, there's a lot of things to explore, whether we're going to explore
Yes.
a big problem. So actually you'll be good if there's like sometimes it's like, yes, there's a training, but training can be very limited. So I'm not sure how they can learn better because they are all very young, pretty girls. So it's like they are all very versatile, and I'm sure they can do more than what they have been taught lah.
Actually, in my interaction with Suizin, Nadira, and Arisha, when we had the first bootcamp training, right?
Yeah.
Actually, all of them are fairly tech-savvy people.
Yes.
They got a good foundation because they were born into the digital world. We migrated into this world. They were born in this world. Yeah. When we were born, there was no. When we were born, there were no computers. When they were born, there was mobile phone already. It's very different.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a very different mindset. So I think they are good, and they've got a good foundation. And since they're involved in that core team, I think you help a lot. Okay, so you mentioned, concept, there's a lot of things in the system to use. So the key thing is, like, emphasize again, during the business requirement phase, it's very, very important to really put in all the attention there. Now, when I do this business, I do business requirements gathering for other solutions, right? When I do it morning session and afternoon session, right? I'm in bed by 9 p.m. Normally, I sleep at around midnight, but when I do this morning afternoon session, I'm in bed by 9 p.m. because it's mentally very exhausting. It is like doing 4 PSLE maths paper in one day, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's always good to take in between breaks lah.
So what I'm saying is that
I heard from Rachel, you're the top student, very, very RI top student.
no, RI I'm not top. I was top student in my primary school, one of the top. But when I go to big pool in RI, right? Yeah lah, I just can pass to go to RJ lah. So good enough.
Wow.
Okay, so back to this one. So back to this one, I want to emphasize that when it's come to requirement gathering, we can block off all other non-essential things from your team working on this one. Give them all the time to focus, because a good planning, because the requirements gathering, as I'll share later on in the bootcamp part, the good requirement gathering will set the right stage for the rest of the activities during the whole project, as well as ensure that you can have a good system for the next 5 years ahead.
Yeah.
So one thing I will so-called do when we meet up with If next week is that they kind of know that we like them already. Okay. The fact that we're visiting them. So now it's before we get married. Now we got to set our terms carefully.
Yeah, I know that we like them, but actually the the EDG is something that I still have to go through the commercial details. Okay.
Sure.
Actually, seriously, I was quite hopeful for MSC consultant to actually give me a better one. I didn't expect Chris to be there. I don't feel he gave me the first look. I look at him.
Sure. Okay. So let's stay focused here. So by the fact that we are visiting A4 means we like them, but we shouldn't let them take advantage of us. I'm going to be a tough negotiator to make sure that we get commitment from them in black and white from our next Tuesday meeting.
Okay.
Because if they think that we were going for them, then they will start to, now they're very friendly, right? When the project starts, then they start, this is my timing, this is my schedule, I can only do this, kind of thing. They start to now limit what they can do.
Yeah.
And that's very typical in software world. I have friends on the other side who's doing that. I mean, I have this good friend in Accenture, he's called consultant no. Customer want everything, his first thing is say no. Okay. That's after the contract is signed, they will do that. Before the contract is signed, everything's can, right? I want to get as much commitment from them in writing as possible.
Good.
And the fact that we're recording all this is very good. So just next Tuesday, I'll be going in friendly, but from a tough negotiator perspective. Okay. So going back to this one, I think your call to make the loaner part is this. So we actually need to, later on, I think Nadira is going to show us the non-inventorized item, the value, the number quantity. We need to then prepare this for updating the material master with value 0 under different types, elementary type. Okay, so the idea is that we have service item, and service contract will be tagged to the service item bracket S, because it can be for multiple items. Normally, we will do service contract for that group of equipment that we sell as one package. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So this is for group of Another good gauge of a good business requirements consultant, as you're saying, our demand that they type and show us what they type.
I think, yeah, actually, frankly, I mean, today is 20th, but I really hope that you could actually send them all the things and really like get them to be prepared, you know, on all the questions that we have, because
Yes.
I feel that we have not really like the backlog thing. I'm still not sure whether they can track all this backlog thing.
I agree. That's why we're having this meeting now, and that's why tomorrow I'm meeting Yvonne, so I can so-called but actually also there's a certain line to be drawn. Actually, a lot of what we're doing is to be done in requirements gathering.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we want to do as much as we can, but then we try to do as much the key things like it will not be 100%.
It cannot be 100%. I don't think it's fair.
Yeah.
But the
But
thing
we
is,
do as much as we can. Yeah.
we can go and touch, but the thing is, we must make sure that the system can do the job. That's one thing I'm quite concerned. Yeah.
For the sales and purchase one, shouldn't be an issue because they've been around for 30, 40 years.
So even the backlog tracking, they can track now. What is our like bring over for next year, everything. Yeah.
Okay, so they are the leading ERP for small companies in the world now. Okay, the other two that we spoke about is SAP, B1, and Sage. But MS is the leading one, and behind Microsoft is putting real money. I just saw the Microsoft annual report, and this is one sector that have the best growth in the last 3-4 years, and they're investing a lot of attention in this. Okay, so I want to take on the approach that they will have the best practices. We want to follow the best practice. But for things like checklist is something that so when they develop software, they will develop for maybe 95% of requirement. 80-20 rule, huh? For the additional 5% to develop for the 5%, it's going to cost too much money, then they don't do that. So that's the part where I ask the question, customization.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, since we're talking about this and customization, first of all, it costs money, number one. Number two, when you customize something, if it's not done properly, there's a risk that when the software upgrades, your customization may not work.
True. I'm also concerned.
I mean, from an equipment perspective, if you change something, later on there's a software update, it might conflict. So there's one risk there. Right. Okay. So whatever you customize, there's always bear in mind there's a running effort and cost to make sure the customization is working with the core thing. So it's not just customization is working well, but the customization must work well with the original thing.
Yeah, true.
So this other consideration. So but the only customization that we do that are no problem are look and feel customization. So one thing that all vendors will do for us is customization of our business forms. Putting our logo putting the format that we like. That one, because it's just the presentation, the report generation, that one has very, very little impact on the core system. Because that one is how we present the information. We're not changing any information. But we want to customize some of the things inside there. Then there could be certain so-called implications. So yesterday we talked to MSC. They actually do some customization to link the BC to their enterprise mobile solution. But because they're selling it as a total solution and they've done it for other customers, so in a sense, when more people are doing this, then the chances are they put in more effort tends to be better because they've done it a few times before. Another customization we discuss is about the resource. So whether this person has the resource, then we want to track the certificate, which is one of the first things I heard you guys mention. The one is about adding some of the fields there.
Yes.
And that one is just about renaming some of the. So that one is fairly standalone and fairly minor. So if you do customization, first of all, minimize it. Number one, keep it to a very, very small thing that doesn't have impact on the big system. And really be very careful. Yeah, basically customization is a very tricky thing. So try to minimize it and do it wisely and do it small. That's what I recommend.
Yeah, I think you have a very good point here. Yeah.
Okay. Apart from the cost-wise, there's all these other issues. Again, these are things that the vendor may not tell you because you customize already, then got problem, there's, oh, actually there's another, we can fix your problem, there's another fee. You know what I mean?
Actually, I think basically, I think you have a very good point actually, Chipping. I think for this one itself, that's why I think basically you're gearing yourself towards configuration, which I think that is quite important, because if let's say, for example, we were to it depends on what options that we are going for. So if let's say for the first option from MSC itself, we have two options from MSC, for example, or F1. Okay, so if it's if it's a native cloud that we actually get, that means if it's upgradable, every time upgradable, all right. So I think that the good thing is that when it is upgradable, all right, I think the good thing itself is that you know, the super users should actually get a little bit more in depth into what is being upgraded and what has been improved, and then share this, learn from the improvement, and then share with the team to see how we can utilize this improvement now.
Okay. And basically configuration, how well configured it is depends on the skills of the consultant. And also the company. It is okay that, so yesterday Christopher seems not to be the expert in service management. But even if they've done it before, it's good that the company has other implementations, so they can always check with other consultants.
Yeah, but I'm not sure about F1, whether their service management, how many service management have they done?
Actually, F1 is a fairly big company, and again, this is one thing we can ask them when we go down with them. And remember, I asked for customer references.
Yeah.
So I think later on you can actually talk to the salesperson Jerry, and then get him to fix arrangement for you to call up their customers. So boss to boss have a chat with their side .
Okay, but must be relevant to my I mean, I want to be relevant to my business one. It will be more relevant in this case. Yeah. You can find somebody more relevant to my business, so you'll be good.
Okay, so in terms of the service management, I think when you ask them the question, it's not so much of how they use service management but it's more in terms of how they work with Avon and whether Avon is a trustworthy partner.
Okay.
So rather than similar industry, more of a recent customer, they can have a good chat with their management, their boss, to say, hey, how's Avon? How do they work? Their pattern and culture and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So okay, wait now. Okay, so back to my point, when the vendor is conducting requirements, I would expect the vendor to, at the end of the session, review the key points of the discussion. It's a painful process, but it's necessary.
Yeah, so actually, it's a good summary if they can do it now. It should be always.
Sorry, I don't think it can do it. I want them to do it. Okay. Why? Because later on, after the session, because everyone tired, you assume that they got what you want.
Yeah.
Then later on, 2 weeks later, when they configure the system, they configure something else. Then you end up having an argument over it. But that's not what I say. That's why I say that kind of things. So what I do now is that, as you notice, when I engage with you guys, I will type it up as I'm talking.
Yeah.
So while you're sometimes correcting my spelling, things like that, which is a bit minor, but it's more of like, if I can type out to a statement that represents what both of us are discussing, then you can be quite sure I understand you. The language will not be perfect. I'm not so keen to put nice language all the time, but at least you know I understand what you're saying. I got the points noted down. And it also serves as record. So I actually wanted the consultant to actually review the documents, review notes.
Okay.
At period, everyday, daily, during requirement.
Yeah, I think it's a good one.
Yeah. Actually, what I do is that when I map out processes or company, I'll map it out as I'm talking to them. But I only managed to do that 5 years doing the job, because it takes a lot of skill to map out when you're talking to people, because you are talking figuring, processing, and mapping. So it's what if I do that one? Like I say, I go home, I'm maybe by 9 o'clock. I really sleep at 9 o'clock.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So going back to where we are, service item will lead to service contract, and service contract will definitely lead to service order.
Mm.
So service order is when you do the work for them, which could be due to from service contract, or could be from ad hoc. No contract, ad hoc. Okay, so people. Okay. So this one actually will have you record the hours, manpower hours. Okay, so in this case, how often do you bill people for manpower hours? It's not a majority, right?
I think about half the time.
Oh, half the time now.
Yeah.
Okay, about half the time. 50% of the time. So this is something that we need to work out for billing purposes. The times, but actually for you guys, the time is basically the minimum measure is half a day, right? It's in terms of half a day almost.
Maybe can you repeat your question? I didn't get it.
When you measure the effort for manpower hours, the minimum, the smallest unit of measure is half a day. You don't measure in terms of 1 hour, 2 hours, right?
2 hours.
Oh, minimum is 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so minimum is 2 hours. Oh, the time. Okay, so this is the manpower. You need to log in the manpower. Basically, you also different manpower rates also lah. Do you do that also? You got like senior technician, master technician.
Actually, we have two kind of rates. One is engineer and one is technician. Then we also have these like emergency rates. Like let's say for example, this customer in the contract we stated like if we respond within 24 hours, then we will charge them the emergency rate. Then subsequent hours will be under the manpower rates.
Okay. So emergency rate is for the first 1 hour, is it?
4 hours.
2 hours. 2 hours.
The emergency rate is 4 hours minimum.
Normally,
actually for this, actually mainly it depends on the contract. It very much depends on the contract. So every service contract, normally we will have, like for example, we tell you, okay, when we do this servicing, okay, this is the lump sum price that we pay. You pay for us to do this servicing. But when you ask us to go down for some ad hoc service or some repair or troubleshooting services, then it will be depending on. Then there's a call called emergency rate, which is normally 4 hours because it takes us to travel. The travel time is already generally 1.5 hours, 2 hours. So minimum there is 2 hours. So it's 4 hours for emergency rate lah. And then when we go there, we really want to troubleshoot something, then we will actually go on the man hour rates. So it all depends on the contract itself, which will be stipulated there lah.
Okay. So the work service order has these three components. Apart from manpower that we just discussed, there's the parts which is can be chargeable, not chargeable. Then last one is talking about the inspection records and so-called documentation of the work done.
Service reports we call it. Documentation is service reports.
Okay.
Right? Generally it's called service reports.
Of course, we have the customer acknowledgement.
Yeah, in the service report, there's a column for customer to acknowledge.
Okay. And company photo. So everyone's taking a lot of photos now. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so these are the 4 main things for any service order. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, calibration report, yeah. Service report. Documentation can be service report, calibration report. From service report, we can put into a calibration report.
Can. So these are all on the service report here. Okay. Of course, this leads to billing later on.
Yeah.
So, okay. So actually, again, let's visit how we have service item, we have service contract, then we have service order. So these are three main components of our so-called the whole service module. But of course, it's the details that is, is the key thing. Okay, so now could Roina, Nadira show us some of the documents that you use? I now let you share screen.
Nadira will share her screen.
Okay.
I cannot share my screen.
Okay, try again. I just allow you to share. Let me stop my sharing first.
Okay, can. Alright, can see.
Yes. I see agenda. Great.
Okay, so we will cover the type of reports and checklists and what are the issues currently we face in terms of the service contract and the tracking of site access validity. So for the reports, we have the service calibration certificate, and these are the checklists that we have for different jobs. Okay, so for the first one, this is the normal service report that we practice. It consists of the customer details over here, equipment details, reported condition, and what other type of service that we will be doing, the description of the job, and then if there's any replacement parts being replaced, and what are the recommendations or follow-up, then followed by the signatures and etc. So next, so normally for this report, we will include the type of equipment as well as the tag number or serial number, and then what type of calibration gas that we use, the before and after calibration reading, and if there's any remarks, then our service team the engineers will actually include in the remark column. Yeah, so there's another type of calibration certificate. This is mainly for Falco detector or XNX detectors. Alright, basically this one state the calibration reading result, the description of the cylinder that we use and the expiry date details, and a brief checklist, be it pass or fail, and then the date and signatures. Okay, so this one is mainly for the VOC monitoring system and the auto sampler system, whereby the engineer will actually fill up the condition or any actions to follow up. So this include the visual inspection checklist, verification of something or check and clean, make sure that they follow step by step. However, there are some customer that has both system on the site. Some customer only have one system. It can be only VOC, or they can only have the auto sampler. So this one we would like to clarify with you whether we are able to take it as one checklist or we have to differentiate it into two different checklists. So this one we must.
Yeah, let's look at all the documents first, then I will review them all together. Any more documents?
So the next one is the humidifier checklist. Basically, it's quite similar, whereby there is a verification list and some readings over here and here, and then the signatures as well. Okay, so for this one is a gas burner checklist. Okay, there is two types. First type is the routine maintenance, alright, whereby the engineer will do it step by step and then check, tick here, tick there, and then what is the remarks. The other one would be comprehensive maintenance. Okay, for this checklist, okay, it involves the description of what we did and also some pictures. So this will have more pages and more explanation, as you can see over here lah.
Oh, you haven't shown us comprehensive maintenance already yet.
Oh.
Can you show that one?
Oh, I
You
think.
got to unshare first, then share the document.
Okay. Alright,
It's a
here.
common problem. I also do this a lot of times.
Yeah. So this is the comprehensive maintenance.
Wow,
whereby
this is like a report
the
already.
description. Yeah. So this actually involve more
Hey,
pages.
could you go to the header first? Let's take a
Yeah.
look at the header. The top first page. Okay. And then can you go to somewhere in the middle? Let's see some of the details.
Sorry, actually for the routine maintenance also it's about the same. It's just that the description of work is different. So actually for routine we also need to add photos.
And,
Okay.
okay, great. Okay, now PowerPoint's like the first report that you show us just now, which I think is the service report lah.
Yeah.
Go back to your PowerPoint one. Yeah.
Share my screen again. Okay.
We'll go on for this for another 10 minutes, then we'll take a break.
Okay.
Okay,
Can you
great.
see my screen?
Excellent, yes. Okay,
Alright.
first of all, I want to establish a concept here. The concept is that currently everything is manual. And do you currently scan in all these documents?
Yeah, so after our engineer complete the job, they will come to the office and scan the reports.
And after they are scanned, how are they being archived?
Normally, Romina and I will save in the server, or we will save it in our laptop.
Okay. So this is currently what you're doing in server. Now, there's the current Dynamics doesn't have all these forms and service report details to the level that we have currently. There's two ways how to do it, and it can be a combination of two ways. Number one way is what we're discussing with all the vendors so far, which we can capture in the system. Capturing the system, there's two ways. One is to capture it in the Microsoft Dynamics system, and another one is capturing the mobile system. The mobile system is the one offered by MSC Consulting, and so far they're the only one to show us the mobile system, which seems very friendly and so on. But again, it is not built for our purpose. They still need to do some customization from there. To capture it on the actual Dynamics itself, for the technician to do it outside there is challenging because the mobile application is not so good. And the desktop version is quite a hassle for a technician to key in all the thing outdoors, the light's not so good. And some places you cannot bring in the computer as well.
Yeah, correct.
Understand? Now, that is the so-called the most digitalized solution. Then somewhere in between, I want to propose is if all these things still remain on manual copy, but we will scan it in and put them into the service report or service order in the Microsoft Dynamics system. That means to say that they will be stored inside as an image, but not so-called key in digitized, just as image. Do you think that's something that's workable for us?
I think that's what we are currently doing. Like after every service, we will just upload the service report into each job.
Well, it's not really what we're doing because currently you don't have a service order system. You don't have a service management system. So what I'm proposing is that there's a system, tracks everything, tracks all the items, tracks all the customers. I can click through the system and open up the various reports individually.
Oh, okay.
So instead of storing in your archive, in your shared drive, desktop, now it's actually attached as part of the whole dynamic system.
Oh, so you mean if I search this particular customer, I can view all the reports, the past?
Of course, but it's not so instant. Like you need to click through every transaction, every date, and open the report one by one.
Okay.
It's almost like, it's currently startup allow you to attach documents, right? So it's exactly the same way you can attach documents as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So if we do that, it's better than currently, right? Although not perfect, but it's better than currently, right?
Yeah, because like for current, we still have to open each job one by one, then go and see whether we got attached the service report or not.
Yeah. So the what I'm proposing is slightly better than what we are so-called currently doing lah.
Okay.
Okay. Why I say that? Because that solution, what I'm offering is something that we don't have to pay for any extra customization.
Okay.
But now let's work somewhere in between where some of the forms are digitized and some are not. And how do we decide? The forms or the reports which are more common, then we digitize them. There's a greater value because they use more often. The ones that are not digitized, that are not so common, we keep it manual. It's a hybrid solution.
Okay.
Possible? Okay, understand. Huh? Okay, now with that concept, let's look into the service report. So maybe could you do a PowerPoint review of your current screen? So this service report actually is applicable for all service jobs. Any service job, you always have this report. Am I right?
Yeah, correct.
So this is the basic document. Okay. So my question is, all the things service they perform, is it kind of a standard text for same equipment? Do they repeat this all the time? How does it work?
No, it depends on the type of service that we are doing. Because if you see in the report, right, under the job title, there's like different troubleshooting.
Okay, sorry, could you come closer to the mic? I can't hear you clearly.
Hello, can you hear?
Yes, better now, yes.
For this one, right, if you look in the service report under the job title,
Yes.
like a different category like troubleshooting, installation, preventive. So it depends on the service job that they are doing.
But once I select a particular job title, the services rendered will be fairly standard, is it?
More or less, except for the troubleshooting part.
Of course. Troubleshooting is not so straightforward. So I think installation, calibration, commissioning, PM, these four categories are definitely fairly standard.
Yeah.
So do you think you can come up with all the standard statements for these four categories?
Then we have to go through like each equipment also.
Yes. So actually it's by the different job types and by the different equipment type to actually capture this thing as a guide. But I'm sure currently these are somewhere because I don't think all the technicians have everything in the head, right? They also refer to certain guidelines, right? So what we're saying is that we want to explore whether this can be in the system. Okay, so I think because this is applicable for all the things, so this is definitely very useful. That's one possibility. Let's go to the next slide, the next document, which I think is a calibration report, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, stay. Okay. Calibration report is it used for only certain type of equipment or all equipment?
It's a mix of equipment.
And is calibration report used one of the most common reports used?
Yeah.
Okay. Very common. So let's maybe zoom in to the table on the right hand side. So you have things like location. Yeah, could you zoom in to the scroll in a little bit, just what you did to the service report. You just press Control and scroll the mouse.
I see.
Now can. Now zoom in too much. Okay. Okay. So on the left hand side, I see that it's actually location, sensor type, serial number, gas calibration. So actually, you actually use a gas to do the calibration, is it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. This one is okay, quite a lot of fields to capture. So this is okay. So in terms of if there's any report you want to digitize, calibration report will be the first priority because it's the most commonly used report.
Yeah, I think so. Because and some of the columns, right, they are pretty much fixed. So
yeah. Which of these columns are actually variable?
Variable, you mean the description or the fields that
As
we are
in,
going
when
to
you do a calibration job, which of these column information changes?
Sensor type, location, calibration gas, serial number.
Okay.
Actually, all lah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But actually, all these zero span, are these
These are
readings
readings.
taken
Yeah.
when you're doing the calibration lah.
Yes.
So then these readings are within certain tolerance, acceptable range.
Yeah.
Okay, but is a range shown over in this report?
Yeah, correct.
Range, you mean?
Yeah.
No, like you just indicate the readings.
Because when we do calibration, we want to make sure that after calibration is within a certain value that is acceptable.
Tolerance,
yeah. So is that standard shown here? Is not shown here, right?
No, it's not.
Would you want to show it here?
I think it's fine.
Okay.
Maybe I clarify. Okay.
Yes,
For this
please.
one itself, okay, when you use a calibration gas, your concentration is 100 ppm. Yeah.
Yes.
So actually, every equipment drifts. So for the first one, you see that actually the span has drifted by 1 ppm. Yeah. So
Yes.
after we do the zeroing, okay, some actually zero does drift for your information. So zero is sometimes 0.3, sometimes 0.2 lah. But this time is 0, 0. Okay, fine. So 100 ppm is actually with reference to the calibration gas lah.
Okay.
So you see that the last one, number 9, is 10, right? So you see that the span is also 10. Yeah.
So I always saying that the calibration will be successfully done if the span on the after calibration span is exactly the same as the calibration gas concentration.
Generally, that is actually our reference
Aim
point.
lah.
Yeah.
Can. Okay, so basically calibration gas concentration must match with the span on the right hand side lah.
Yeah, because actually this calibration gas is actually a primary standard. Yeah. So primary standard. So these equipment are actually a secondary standard. So basically you're using a primary standard to actually adjust internally to read 100 lah.
Okay. Thanks for helping me revise my mechanical engineering I learned 20 years ago. It's not coming back slowly. Part per million, isobutylene and all the chemistry stuff.
Isobutylene, yeah. This is more,
Okay.
more, yeah.
Okay, I shouldn't embarrass myself anymore. Okay, let's go on to the next slide and see the next report. Okay, good. Let's maybe scroll up first and see the big picture first. So this calibration certificate. So is this certificate so-called issued in conjunction with the calibration report from the previous slide?
The calibration cert is more for like a individual equipment. Then the report is more like a system, the whole system.
Okay, so every equipment will have one certificate, but for the whole system, you have the calibration report.
Yeah, correct.
So these two go hand in hand one lah.
Sometimes if the customer is only using just the individual equipment, we will just issue the calibration cert.
Okay, but if the core equipment, then it's a calibration report lah.
Correct.
Okay, because actually over here, I can see the values are very similar. Oh yeah, the same as. Okay, thanks. Next slide, please. Okay, VOC is some volatile something concentration, right? So this one is a checklist. How many different type of checklists do you have besides this VOC monitoring system?
Okay, so we have the VOC and auto sampler checklist, the dehumidifier checklist, PUB gas burner checklist.
I think the oil tanking you didn't have it, right? You didn't show the oil tanking.
So
No, actually don't need to show, but you have about 4 checklists, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing that you want to digitize and sorry, these 4 checklists, are they all the same line items or do they have different checklists for different equipment types or so on?
Different checklists for different equipment type. Actually, Chipeng, you're right. Basically, actually what they are showing you is not everything. There's still a lot of equipment that I don't see that is there. So basically, I think the rule of the thumb itself is that the pink one, the number 3, that one is our common one. That one, if we can digitalize it, will be good. And actually, that pink color, if you go to the service report, okay, Nadira, Okay, this part is going through, this is not our first version. We've actually gone through a lot to add in what we think that this can be common to all the work that we do. So this has gone through a lot of thinking to improve how we can format it. So if this one is more like after using quite a bit, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Rowena and Nadira, is that basically after we find that this is very universal. This service report is quite universal, can be used for almost every job. It's just how we're going to write it up, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so this part, it will be good if we can basically customize it. That's what I felt. Because the reason, because this report has a few copy, one for the job, one for the accounts, one for the billing, one for customer. So it's all carbon copy. You know, like there's carbon in between, you know, stacked in between for carbon copies. Yeah.
Okay, so Wiba, could you repeat again where are all the service report going to again? Finance is one.
So finance, okay. So basically for service report, one goes to the customer, one goes to the service job, one goes to the finance, and one goes to the basically the billing lah. Finance means billing lah. Yeah. So whenever we bill our customer, we need to attach the service report lah, because that shows that they have already acknowledged it and we've done something at site and what time we go in, what time we've gone out. Yeah.
Okay. So actually at the end of the day, the customer get one copy instantly. Correct. You know, before you leave the place. But yes, two copies go to finance. Although finance keep one copy, but one of the copy that finance get will still end up with the customer, will be sent to customer as part of the billing.
Yes, correct. One to the job, right?
Then
maybe Nadia, maybe Rowena, you can tell me how many copies, because I think there was about 4 copies, is it?
Yeah, we have 4 copies.
Yeah. Can you?
Okay, so then actually I got it. So so when you finish a job, 1 copy will go to customer instantly. Number 1, you bring back 3 copies. 1 copy you will file in your department. Correct. 2 copies you give to finance. And finance will only file one, will keep 1 copy, and one of the copy that finance get, they will put it in the invoice to the customer.
Yeah, generally yes, we do that.
Okay, can. Now, if you were to do it this system here, first of all, we definitely need to have 1 copy for the customer. I think much as we talk about digitization, having a physical copy, you know, is still a very acceptable thing. So, and so I'm just exploring. Let's say we just do a hard copy one. So one will go to customer instantly. The one for finance, I'm just wondering whether instead of sending the hard copy to finance, can we scan in the copy and print a scanned copy for billing purposes? Then because now ERP and finance system are one system, there's no need to keep 1 copy in finance, 1 copy in the project department. Both can share 1 copy already.
Actually, basically, a lot of my customers are requesting that basically we try to digitalize the thing, okay? Like people like Exxon, people like oil tanking, they expect us to actually put this format into a digitalized form. Then they sign off. Once they sign off, they just say email to my system. They always like that. They after sign off, please email to the system, you know, scan a copy, email to the system. Scan a copy, email to the system. So it's all very manual on our side, basically.
Okay. But again, because some of the sites, they don't allow computers and all these things. So then, and iPad and all these things. So I don't know whether iPad sign, would that be feasible for them to, let's say we can have this on iPad. Can they sign up on iPad? Can we have the iPad on the site? Is it possible?
Basically what happened is that what happened is this, I believe maybe Nadira and Rowena, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't really go to sites so often. What I would expect my guys to go up is basically go up and do the job. Okay, so they may go up to the process plant, they may go up to a tank to do the job. Okay?
Yes.
After they do the job, okay, they jot down their points, on a piece of paper or whatever itself. Okay, so maybe it's just jot down a piece of paper or whatever they just jot down. Okay, they may not write straight away on the report. Okay, so what happened is when they jot down everything, they come back, then they start writing the they jot down. After that, they finish the job, right? They have to start writing. Then they ask customer to acknowledge. So that time when they ask customer to acknowledge, it is not at the process plant, it is at their office. which
Okay, I see.
is actually non-hazardous area. So
Sure.
that's what I expect. Is it correct, Rowena and Nadira?
Yeah, but not
Generally,
every time. Not every time.
not every time,
Yeah.
but not every time, but
those customers they can accept like we scan to them or whatever, then okay lah. But there are some customers they prefer to have it on the spot.
okay.
Yeah.
So if they want it, have it on the spot itself,
then they have to write it and then ask them to acknowledge and give them the hard copy.
okay.
Okay, so maybe one solution is that I think it's still good to have the hard copy, because for technician, that's the most easy thing, and if there's customer signature involved, that's the most convenient thing lah. But what we do is that after that, the copy that finance send back to the customers will not be the hard copy, it will be the digitized form, and we will so-called scan in and keep everything digital form. So it means the customer can still get an email after that of the digitized form, but it started as hard copy lah.
I'm not sure whether is it okay. Rowena and Nadira, what's your opinion?
Sorry, can you repeat
again? Okay, so one proposing is that we still practice the hard copy form, but not four copies now, just 2 copies.
Okay.
So after the copies, I think we will 1 copy to customer immediately, and 1 copy will bring it back.
Okay.
Okay, then we bring it once it's scanned in, then everything is in the system, because finance don't need to get a copy, because finance is using the same system as us already. When they click on the service order, they can see all the documentations there.
Okay.
And if the customer wants to email a hard copy to them, maybe the hard copy maybe go to the operations people, maybe the procurement side they want the soft copy, we can also do that, no problem. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Again, I'm not saying this is what we finally agree on, but this is our working solution at this moment of time lah.
Okay.
Okay. Let me go back to what I said just now before we have a short break, because we've been going on for about 1 hour 15 minutes already. We definitely okay. I think what we can do safely say is that we will still service report, we do hard copy, and the rest of the form, we can still do the hard copy one, but we will capture them in the system, because if whatever we want to digitize, apart from the fact that it requires some customization, it requires, are we expecting the technician to generate all these things either using a tablet or using a laptop on site? If we don't require that, then it's okay that they just copy down, scribble all these things on paper, then come back. We will key them in and generate the reports nicely still, you see. So I'm just wondering how practical is it for the technicians to be out there updating the information using a tablet or a laptop? Okay. Having said that, it doesn't mean that this is the final solution. I'm saying this is the solution when we launch the system now. There's still a possibility that we can subsequently upgrade to digitize those things maybe 1-2 years later.
Okay.
You understand what I mean? We're doing stage by stage first. We digitize the service management, the entire thing first, and all the reports we do it a bit later. So that's another possibility. Ken? Okay, so maybe let's take a 10 minutes break. Now it's 4:30. Let's come back at 4:40.
Okay.
And then we continue this discussion. Ken?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's take a 10 minutes break first. We come back and discuss this lah.
Sorry, can I just ask, is the bootcamp still going on? Because I think Arisha and Susan have been waiting.
Yeah.
Let them come in 10 minutes time. Then we'll do the bootcamp.
They're actually already in. They've been there for an hour.
Yeah, actually we forgot about the 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, sorry, because actually I think it's also important for the sales to understand this process a little bit. So yeah, so let's resume in 10 minutes time lah.
Oh.
Shall we?
Okay.
Okay, see you in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
here. And let me just wrap up the discussion we have about the digitization reports very quickly. So that one, the default thing that we can do is just to do the current manual so-called form method, but we bring back the form, we digitize, but the difference is now we put it in the Microsoft Dynamics systems, which allow us all to see it, including finance. Now, one stage better than that is that we, on a ROI basis, how much money we need to spend, the implications, then we'll see which form we want to digitize and how to digitize them, because it will come with additional costs. Okay, then we see on a case-by-case basis, but we can always implement Dynamics first and digitize the forms later, because digitization of the form, I think, has another 2 or 3 more parameters. One, the technician must be able to key in those things when they're out there, whether it's a convenient thing for, so whether they can do it, they have the right tablet or PC to do it, and whether it's the best arrangement to do it. That's one thing, compared to the current paper format. Second thing is also the customers. I think we mentioned some customers want to have a copy there and then. I guess in some industry.
Perhaps maybe the best way itself is that actually we are also in the meantime asking the intern to do it. So they have done something, but not they try to digitalize it, but not I mean still trying lah. Yeah, still trying. So maybe we can look into that lah. But Chee Peng, I didn't actually get your point. I just wonder what is the difference between for us when we actually scan the report into the job also, right? Rowena, we also scan the report to the job also, right? Versus this MS Dynamics. What's the difference between this and the earlier system? I didn't get it actually.
Oh, the difference is that now we have all the service item captured in the system, and with the service item, we have all the service orders captured in the system, with the service contract captured in the system. So all these three are digitized. Okay, they're on the system. It's just that the reports, which are further detailed, are in the system in the form of an attached document rather than enter into the system.
Okay.
That means to say that I can. That means
as what we have with the Task Hub, Rowena. What's the difference?
Actually, I think for the Microsoft Dynamics, if we search just by the customer itself, we can view all the service reports, right? The past
so,
reports.
If I can elaborate, so now we can actually search by customer, and each customer has different service items. Let's say this customer has 10 service items, 10 things that we sell and install for them, and out of the 10, all 10 have service contract with different levels of with different so-called expiry date. I can click into a service item and so far we've done 3 servicing for them. It's all listed down there. The date, the time is all there in the system. But I want to see a detail. What actually do we do over there? I click in there and see all the documentation.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Now, if we want to digitize the reports, one of the reasons would be we want to do some analysis of the report details, which I suppose now is maybe a nice to have. I don't know whether the customer will pay us for that, whether it's of much. Because all the reports must do until okay one, right? So it's not like we can see any trend. But anyway, if you want to do analysis, you can always click through and see all those individual scan report and print them out and eyeball. But I don't think that is a very important thing currently.
Okay, Ken.
Okay. We just park that as the best thing now. As we develop, we can see what we can do better than that.
Okay.
See, even figuring out this thing is mentally challenging for me. Tonight I'm going to sleep early. Yeah. Because I need to so-called digest, piece together all the changes and put them. And also, the important thing is to figure out, I'm trying to put everything so that everything is linked to each other's you see. I cannot just agree to this, and it doesn't match. No, I always evaluate everything on the fly, whether it fits into the big picture or not. So that one requires a lot of concentration.
That's why you sleep at 9 o'clock. That is very vitamin S. So everybody remember to take your vitamin S early.
Yeah, okay. So let's quickly run through the bootcamp portion. Actually, just now I covered some of the issues, but I will revisit them. But anyway, all this is recorded. I'll send the clip to you. So we will finish at 5:30 sharp because I need to go for another meeting later.
Yeah.
So we have covered 1 to 7 in the past 2 sessions. Today we're going to cover 2 topics, which is more in terms of the project management kind of thing, which are project phases, contracting, and change management. But before that, I just want to just share with you, this is the latest course list for computer science school for NUS and SMU. If you look at it, actually not all are technical people, you know. The only people that do a lot of coding are comp science people. The IS people do very little. Com engineering, well, some. Business analytics, they don't do coding per se, but they do a lot of SQL analysis. And info security also do some coding. So, but SMU actually only among all these courses, only this one do, the third one do substantial coding. The rest is just a bit. So we always think the IT is techy. Actually, no. The management of IT is as important as the actual writing of codes. Okay, because the government messaging is actually not very accurate. They always say IT equals coding, but that's not true. That's just one aspect. For those in IT industry, whenever you hear the government's messaging, we always like laugh a little bit because it's not entirely accurate. It can be a bit misleading. So with this, these are the 6 main phases of any IT project, and I want to go through them in detail. First one is you analyze. That means the people will understand your requirement and why do they need to do that, so they can see how to configure the system to meet your requirement. There's always a lot of trade-off, like we covered last lesson. You want to have more fitting to your requirement, then so just now, for example, the service report is a trade-off, right? So why do we need them to be captured in the system? Because some people need to key them in, and people who are writing on paper so long, to key them in can be quite a hassle, right? And then do we need to do analysis over the individual service report items? If not, then can we just maybe scan them in and put them digital? When I do this cost benefit analysis, then I figure out maybe just digitizing and putting them as an attachment is the best solution at this moment in time. Okay, and it's important to balance trade-off because sometimes, not a lot of time, the consultant will sell you things that will help him increase his revenue. He will not tell you certain things will cost money until later. So he said, okay, I want to have this. Oh, sure, can. I give you 2,000, can. But after you pay the money, 1 year later, how come it doesn't work? Oh, actually, you must pay $5,000 every year. Then it will work every year. They won't tell you that one. The good one will tell you lah. The not so good one will not tell you unless you ask lah. So that's the challenging thing for requirement. And actually, what we're doing in all the sessions so far is very similar to requirements gathering. But we are not telling them so much of what we want, but more of whether the system can do this and that. Another thing is that there's a need for a radical change in mindset because all of the W2 staff are still thinking in terms of Task Hub. Your mind has been shaped by Task Hub for the last 7 years. Okay, so now it's important, but I think we all have been participating in sessions and all the recordings to actually look into how MS Dynamics works and try to think in terms of MS Dynamics. I also asked a question to one of the vendors, will it be easier, will it be better if the users will go through an overview of MS Dynamics first, then they get the requirement, then they can help to maybe voice their requirement in a little bit similar to Dynamics kind of format. So there's a meeting point on both sides, you see. Business analysis, unfortunately, in Singapore is not much emphasized. They normally get fresh graduates to do this job. But in overseas country, in US, Europe, they recognize business analysis is the most important step in any IT project. And these are the highest paid people overseas. Okay, but Singapore, no, they don't recognize unless there are few companies and few government bodies that saw the value of this and they give. And the business analyst is a $15,000 a month job easily. Okay, this is one area that I've been doing for many years. I specialize in this. I don't get $15,000 a month because Singapore don't recognize, but it's actually extreme because it is almost like you talk to the customer, understand it, then you actually architect the solution on a high level. Because that will determine whether the detailed things are done properly or not. Okay, so on your side, how do you make this work? How do you make this successful? Require notes to be documented and reviewed at the end of every day or every session. If the session is half a day, at the end, review, spend some time reviewing the thing one more time. no matter how tired you are, so that you don't go home saying, then later on you have so-called, I think you thought, and the kind of things. Second thing is that it's important for W2 to, while you're looking at the small little requirement, to see how it fits in the bigger picture, whether there's any impact, positive or negative. Okay, and that's actually not easy. That one is very challenging. You want to change this, but something changed, it will impact other things. So we must always see things at the systemic, at the high level and the complete picture. Okay, a good consultant will actually see this and tell you, but a bad consultant will tell you, will do A and B when A and B conflicts. They won't tell you actually. So this is extremely, extremely important. All the session we're doing and my bootcamp is to prepare you for this. And all the session will help you prepare for this. So yeah, so this is very important. Now, when A is done properly, B and C are actually done by the vendor. When A is done properly, then you have all the requirements, then vendor can configure according to what you discuss. Okay. By the way, it is actually, it's not so much of requirements. It's not what you require. It's not what you want. It's what you need, what you require. So I think you understand what's the difference between needs and want, right? I want this, but you may not need this. So there's a process of finding out what is your need really, and not really what you want. You might think this is a good idea because people say it's good idea, but actually it's not what you need. Okay, so there's a lot of sifting through. There's a lot of things to balance over in the first step. So then after that, you should actually review through what is, the documented. Based on that, you formally have to sign off to say this is what I want. So the sign off is a lot of documents, which is why you should review the documents every day. So that don't wait until end of 2 weeks, then you sign out one 20-page document that you cannot picture, don't know what it means, then you jala already. You don't sign off, the project don't go on. You sign off, some things are not captured properly, then vendor can always, you sign out this one already. That's why I give it to you. So it's very, very tricky. Okay. So in my trade, the business analysis has to have an experienced person down there. Very important for companies who want success. Okay. Next is that system setup. Okay, business form customization is fairly straightforward. Tell them what format you want, where you want the logo format, where you want information, they'll customize for you. Now, then actually after that, we have training and coaching. Because by then, you have so-called populated the data. Okay, then you will train the people in the system using your data. So you are familiar, so that you don't have aircon, you have all these other things. You have basically your data, your kind of thing, so that people are familiar. And these are actually real data. So if there's any issues in the training and coaching part, people will then raise the issue up. So actually, it is quite normal during training and coaching, and also the subsequent user acceptance test, that you will raise certain changes. Some of the things are things you have not thought through in detail before. Some of the things, you thought through, but what you discuss and what it looks like is quite different. Now, this is where the vendors have the power, because first of all, you sign on requirement already. And requirement is drafted by them, it's in their language, it's not easy to read. So you say you sign up already, what? You want to change, can pay more money. Okay, I remember one of the vendors say that actually we do some, we understand there's always some adjustment, we allow for that. So actually, we're at the vendor's mercy. Whether or not to charge or not is their call. Okay, because contractually you sign off already, what? Okay, which is why I go back. Number one is so important. Okay, I couldn't emphasize this. I work in GLC. I work in Temasek Link Company before. I see 3 or 4 projects of about $500,000, $1 million go to waste because of poor business analysis. Okay, yeah, they roll out the thing to all the warehouses in India, 10 warehouses. First day, the system don't work, and the people cannot use the system. Wow, jala, man, embarrassing, because you never do business analysis properly. Totally embarrassing. But no company in Singapore or Asia context will announce that the IT system failed them because it's a phase problem. But more companies, they will announce it because they recognize that they need to learn from the mistake. And also, some mistakes are so big you cannot hide them on. I'll show you one example later on. Okay, user acceptance test is when you start to test a system to make sure this is really, you test all the scenarios, all the flow, all the possibilities to make sure that it's configured properly. You cannot assume, and it's tested and documented. So actually, a lot of the vendors don't put in UAT because it's not driven by them, it's driven by you. You should make sure test all kind of things. Don't later on always happen, oh, I assume the vendor has put this in, but I never check it, but now it's not like that. Then how? Then go back to vendor, pay more money. Okay, so the additional cost is really how the vendor earns money if you don't do business analysis properly. Okay, so user acceptance test, then later on go live services is when they will provide different levels of support for you to go live. Actually, I think Darren mentioned that they will station somebody in the office for I think 1 or 2 weeks during go live, but not all vendors offer this. So this is something that we also got talk to the 2 finalists where we meet up with them. So all these things we want to make sure is black and white in the contract, and negotiate everything very clearly. Because if it's not clearly later on, it's subject to their interpretation because they are the vendor and you sign a contract. Okay, so this is an example of the costing for one of the vendor. The software price is in this case is a one-off and annual basis. Professional services ranges from $800 to $1,000 is about there. Okay, I would advise against quarreling over $800, $900. Anyway, this cannot negotiate because it's all government so-called packages already. Because I can have a consultant that costs me $500, very cheap, right? But I give you a problem to solve, it takes 3 days to solve. I have a consultant that costs $1,000. I give you a problem he can solve in 2 hours. So it doesn't mean that, so don't just look at the value. And normally the man days is something which, some people will take longer time, some people take shorter time. But this is showing all those services that I mentioned just now. And then PayPal is something which I think is bundled in a lot of packages. It's not too expensive. And after the first year, you can choose not to upgrade. You can choose not to subscribe to it. But government wants everyone to have PayPal. So it's part of the package.
I think it's just a matter of time. But I do not know when Yvonne and Mars and Kaiket, I think you all went to PayPal or Swizin. But he said that it's not suitable for us. I don't know why. So I never really.
No, at this point, But anyway, it has to be added as part of the package. But after the first year, you may not need to continue a subscription. Okay, I also have reviewed this online ERP course by University of Minnesota very extensively. It's very non-technical, quite easy to understand. But this is a Singaporean guy who's actually teaching there, but he speaks very slowly. So if you go to all these, I'll send it to you later. All these links, play them on YouTube, play them at 1.75 speed. Otherwise, it's very, very draggy. So these are, things which I use in preparation for this bootcamp. And, if you want to look at the details, these are a very good resource for you to learn internally. Okay. So going on. So this example I share with you, Target is actually a US company. In 2012, they expanded into Canada, but the system flopped. And actually, they actually so bad that they pulled out from Canada after, wasting millions of dollars. And and many people lost, 70,000 people lost a job. Okay, and Target didn't expand to Canada because of poor IT. I mean, people couldn't even buy the things properly. The inventory don't work. So this is how bad when you don't manage the project properly, and a lot of time it's actually the requirements planning part, which is not done properly. Okay, another one showing this is how much you spend in IT percentage of revenue. So the average is about 4.5%. So if your revenue is say $1 million, the spend on IT is about $45,000. That's including all the hardware, software, and everything on a yearly basis. So this is the benchmark over time. Banks normally spend close to 8% on IT because bank IT had to be extremely secure because it's regulated and so on. So different industries is different, but generally on the average is 4.5%. And a lot of times the project spend do not get the desired value. There's a lot of cost overruns, schedule overruns, and a lot of benefits doesn't match what they promise. So actually, in short, there's a lot of ID projects that fail, but nobody wants to admit them in the Singapore Asian context. One, it makes your company look bad. Two, you lose face. Third, then three, if you use government money, you cannot see a project fail. Then government will take back the money. But actually, it's very common, and I've seen many, many failures in my working experience. Okay. Now, how do we change? One of the things of failure is because people are not being prepared for that. So there's the people, technology, and process. But the people part is something which is quite challenging. So if you have a process that technology people may not use them, people may not use them properly, and people might say that the system is lousy. So over here, I want to then now discuss, maybe now it's time for you to do the talking in terms of what are the changes the staff will experience with the new ERP system. So can everybody just chip in one point? First one easier because you can come up with a fresh point. So Arisha, who has been with us waiting for us to start, maybe you want to start first. When we put in the new ERP system, what changes will people experience?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear. Yes, can.
Yes. Changes definitely getting used to the usual steps that we are accustomed with when we use TaskHub. So like, like firstly, like for my side, generating like the sales quotation, how's the input like where to get the item from the inventory, how do we trace back the stocks, and then from there, like when we receive PO, all these, so it's like the steps that we are used to at TaskHub. So perhaps it requires a lot of practice first, and then maybe from there then we will get used to it. Yeah, and then another point is for sales as well. Maybe perhaps the sales meeting, the what you call that, the visualization of the data, maybe easier for us to interpret it, lesser manual extraction required.
Okay, great. Very well articulated, excellent. If I can just paraphrase one thing you said, some steps, some new steps, some old steps not needed anymore. Hopefully have a lot more of these
correct.
things.
Yeah,
And some
hopefully,
old steps,
yes.
and some old steps change. Okay. So I just want to
So
clarify
it's
that,
either it is reduce or change, yes.
yes. I would say that not every step will be easier. Some steps will be more. For example, we definitely going to put in an approval process for any changes to customer, supplier, and inventory master. Okay. Why? Because we need we need to have tighter control. Otherwise, anybody can change, then there's no control. So there'll be some more steps required. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Thanks. More control. How about Nadira? You want to contribute some more things? Although Arisha is very comprehensive, but I'm sure you got some more things to share. Nadira, then later on we jump to Rowena. Anybody? Nadira or Rowena?
Maybe I start first. I think like those new modules that
Excellent.
we maybe we are not aware of, then we can need time to go and explore how it can help to improve our processes.
Excellent. Actually, this is what I was thinking last night as well. I was doing this. For service management is really from manual to system. It's a big jump. Okay, so but good thing is that I think Nadira and Rina, you guys seems quite able to adapt and you are the people that will be the main user of the system. So I think it's quite positive over here. Okay, great. Any other pointers from Nadira and Rowena?
I think Nadira, you can share.
Maybe our perspective views,
Okay.
like probably before this, we are always set at one point of how to say, like you always think that that is the only solution that we have, but actually there are other possible solutions that we can think of.
Okay, actually, your comment lead us to the next slide very naturally. I want to say that for service management for Nadira and Rowena, one painful thing you experience is that a lot of things become more legit. Because currently using your shared drive, a lot of things very easy, right? Next time, a lot of things you want to do is you need to follow the steps in the system. And that's because we're having tighter control. It's a good and bad. Bad is more steps, but good is there's tighter control and more organized system. So I think you kind of recognize that, I guess, from our discussion. Okay. Next thing I want to discuss, what are some of the emotions people go through? So now it's talking about people's feelings, not just what changes when they face with a new ERP, and how can we go about reducing those? So you can either talk on the left-hand side or right-hand side or both. It doesn't matter. So maybe we start with Suizin. You can share on the left-hand side or right-hand side or both. It's okay.
Okay, so what are the challenges? So firstly is as a being human, we're afraid of changes. So the challenge is we have to make changes.
Yes.
And how do we able to reduce them is at the first that is actually one of the things that actually I wanted to ask about. If let's say we get a new ERP system, right? I strongly believe, right, it's okay to make mistake, but if let's say we make a mistake, but is this going to be recorded in the system itself?
Okay.
Because confirm for the first time we will confirm make some mistake in the ERP system. So and then our management also, we have to be patient with them, and then we have to teach them step by step, because there will be bound to be like a lot of questions, a lot of like need help.
Okay. I need to support staff who need extra help, huh?
Yes.
Not just management, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just helping you protect a bonus. You say management, people management here. Okay. Okay. So I just want to address that. I think in the system, a lot of things can be reversed, but the thing is that when I do reverse, it just adds on to the entry, so it becomes very cluttered. You know what I mean?
That's the thing that I worry about, like, because when we first time try, we will confirm make some of the mistakes.
Definitely.
But the thing is, I don't want it to affect because it's our new ERP system, but I don't want to affect it in a way that it will affect all the report and everything.
So this is one thing that when we meet up with one of the vendors next week, we will discuss with them. I want it black and white for them to have a comprehensive support when we go live. But actually, the whole process starts with requirements gathering. As you give good requirement, you understand. As you attend the training, and then you train properly, and you learn the thing properly, then you help to reduce mistakes when you do. But when you actually use it, it's different because you're actually using real life. So then we want the consultants to actually hopefully be on very close support, so that if I think I'm making a mistake, before I post the thing, I can contact the consultant first, so I can prevent the mistake from happening. But even if I have to make a mistake, the consultant can help me to then advise me on the best way to undo the mistakes. So that's a very good point. Yeah. Okay, great point. So go back to Arisha. How about you? Any other points that you have? Could be left or right hand side.
Yes. Hello. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely, there's this feeling of like anxiousness when you first use. Correct. Like it's similar to being afraid. I mean, I remembered when I first time used this TaskHub. There were at least 2 people teaching me, or no, 3 people. I have Yol, I have Nadira, and maybe Suizin. Yeah,
Yes.
because they were all here already before I came.
Yeah.
So with regards to that, I strongly believe if let's say like for example now we are the super users, right? So
Yes.
does that mean that the super users get to use this first? Then from there the super users are able to help other people, or how does this work?
Yeah. So that's a very good point. I think the super users should be the one taking the lead, so-called, because you're involved in, because when everyone is responsible, no one is responsible. So taking the lead means that you have to actually attend all the sessions, requirements gathering, and be tightly involved in reviewing all the notes and so on, taking the lead. Then when it comes to training, you take the lead as well because you are expected to really know the system. Okay. So let's say if there's some things, some operational needs to be handled, the other people who are not super users should go and handle the thing. Super users should stay in the session and learn and commit 100%, 101%. So that after that, then later on you can then guide them and support them. So definitely super users are the commando. They're the first to go. Okay. But they're not the first to get injured. Don't worry. First to go. You learn. You make some mistakes along the way. You learn from there. So it's going to be very challenging time for super users, but you'll be the one that help to guide the rest of the company. Although W2 is a small company, but I think still good to have a few focused super users to spearhead this whole thing. Yeah, so it's good that last time you were in being taught by your colleagues. Now you get to spearhead these things, and then you can now coach your colleagues. It's very good. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Anyone else have any comments about this? Any other so-called challenges that we identify? How can we reduce them? Okay. Actually, what we're doing in this current session is really part of change management. As we're getting you familiarized with the thing, then you become, we've been talking about this. We've been looking at the dynamics for I think the past 1 month or so already.
I'm Shay. Nice.
And I'm Sid.
Wait,
And we're the McGee's. In 2013, I designed our first home and then started posting photos to Instagram.
I want to show an example clip of Netflix, so that's why okay, can. So as I say this one, okay, let me go to there. Give me a second.
Young people now.
I'm sorry you guys feel hungry after watching this.
Looking for the fastest way out to do things.
And grenades.
Meet you, Claire. Thank you.
That you started with.
Talkers had no choice. It's not an
Stirring, passionate, you are. This is good.
Sorry,
Idea.
Netflix don't know.
meaning new in Malay, was built after the area was declared unsanitary and designated for improvement in 1925. During the
It's going to disappear very.
Okay, I'll try to find a slot, then we just give up from there. This one.
Then after that, when I bring the trimmer,
as they brewed pork bones with spice and herbs. The result? A soup flavored by meaty pork bones, fortifying workers.
Okay, so unfortunately, Netflix don't allow me to share the screen, but I want to hear the narrative here.
For the back-breaking work ahead of them.
I will say, can you please help me to figure out how to use? Then after that, they also think that the machine belongs to machine, electronic stuff, all this. At first, they a bit cannot accept. Then after that, I will actually feel quite disappointed also. This generation, Then I also feel like giving up. Yes, honestly. But then luckily around us, we have many customers who are entrepreneurs who say, hey, you don't think that you are the one who suffer, also, okay? They are also suffering because they will think that, hey, I'm doing 20 over 30 years, we have been doing good. Why then you come in, I must follow you, not you follow us. So I must step by step. So example, the cashier machine, last time we are using the 饼干, the biscuit tin, 早钱, it's very, very traditional. Then after that, when I bring the 3 machine, we have 3 biscuit tin. I take away 1. After 3 months, 6 months, I take away another 1. After 1 year, the 3 biscuit tin gone. So yeah, it's like that. Then after that, now I have the new machine. I will not say, hey, I teach you how to use. I will say, can you please help me to figure out how to use? Then after that, they also think that the machine belongs to them. And then now they are more expert than me, surprisingly. So I feel very proud,
So when you introduce all
Okay, so that was from Wantan Mee, movie by Eric Koo on Netflix. You can go and view it if you are interested. Let me go back to here, Wantan Mee. Okay. Yeah. So they wanted to introduce quite simple, which is a point of sales machine to a store. But then they got all the old Milo tin to collect money. And the way she did is they actually change it slowly. Secondly is that they also start to empower the people to take ownership over this point of sale system instead of this daughter of the boss who actually drive everything. So these are some interesting change management strategies they use. I link this back to just now we talked about service management, that I'm suggesting that one of the ways is that we can look into digitization of the service report documentation, maybe not now, maybe a little bit later. But if you get EDG fund, then we can do it now. But if not, we can do it subsequently. Also under maybe EDG fund. Because when trying to do too many things at one point in time, it can be a little bit overwhelming. Okay. So some of the notes I have, some users may resist by don't do anything, lack of interest. Actually, one common thing as I was training people using some software in the site, software lousy. Okay. They say software lousy. Or they say don't know how to use. Okay, so how do I handle this? When they attend my 2 days course, at the end, I will actually introduce a test at the end. I'm the only consultant that have a test. So Singapore mentality is that you got test, wow, I better don't malu, man. Correct or not? Because if out of 20 people, 17 people pass, but 3 people fail. Okay, so let me ask now, Nadira. Let's say if 17 people pass, 3 people fail, can the 3 people that fail complain that the software is lousy? Nadira, are you there? Or either that or Rowena can also answer.
I think since you say they already fail, right? Yeah, I don't think so.
Cannot, because if you fail, you cannot copy anymore,
Yeah.
right? You cannot say consultant lousy, cannot teach well. You cannot say software lousy.
Yes.
You pass. If you pass, do you think you will say that software is lousy?
No.
No, you pass already, you feel proud already, right? In fact, you pass already, you say, instructor very good, help me pass. Software very good. Yeah. So this is one of the things I put in. It's a small test. It's not meant to stress them, but it's just testing on the basic use of the system. And if they can pass, then to go. Then those few ones will not say anything because it's very clear that they didn't put in effort. And it works in the Singapore context very well. I've also used it in Asian context very effectively. So these are some of the creative ways how I get people to help them overcome their fear of change. Sometimes by having a test is one of the way. So some people will say the software lousy, but actually Singapore, Asian context, people tend to be passive. They will resist passively. They won't copy one. They won't voice out. Okay. So then there are different resistance and coping model. So different strategies. So I won't go into this too much. And also, these are good practices and bad practices of change. The good are on the left-hand side, the rest are good. The good one on the right-hand side. So I think it's important to be transparent, address issues. I think one good thing is that Viva is really very hands-on on all these things. She might not be right in all her things, and I think she knows when some area she maybe requires support and input from you guys. But having Viva to be taking the lead is one of the best way. As I'll show you in this slide here, let me show. So this is a university. They wanted to upgrade their enterprise system for 5,000 employees. It's a big, I think, $40 million project. So he said that, as I said in the kickoff 1 year ago, I do not know of anything more important to me than the success of this system. So I have your back. So he gave his commitment at the project kickoff to say, I will give you the resources, support you. If you make mistakes, I will make sure that you don't get the blame, provided you don't make the mistake all the time. So this is the management support, so-called of one enterprise. It's a very important part of the whole thing. Okay, I will not go through this too much because let me see. Okay, then there's all this change leadership. How do you guide change? You know, what are good practices also? And I want to talk about this, which I spoke about briefly. You have to accept that in the next 6 months after you implement this. So let's say you implement a system from January until March. From April onwards until maybe August or September next year, there's a likely to be a drop in productivity. Maybe not 6 months, maybe 3 months after that. So in April, May, June, there's a drop in productivity because you're juggling with the demands of your work plus juggling with using the new system. So be mentally prepared. There's going to be a certain drop. You need more time. So I really advise we want not to take on too much new things during that time, to to kind of stage them out a little bit after the implementation. It's like when people are pregnant and they want to give birth, they won't try to do too many new things. Don't move house, definitely don't move house. Don't change computer. Yeah, just don't do drastic things so they can focus on the most important thing, which is the ERP adjustment. But if you do that properly, if you design a system properly, productivity will rebound and be better than previously after that. All right. So a lot of people don't realize, they think, oh, a system must be, then I can fly already. No. You must allow 3 months because we're all human to adjust to the system. And sometimes if maybe all the main users can do it properly, but 1 or 2 users require a bit of hand-holding, we don't just scold them and say, hey, hurry up. No. We must actually work with them and support and give them time as well. Then the whole company can move on as a team. Okay. So let me see any more things. So, okay, so last slide is that there's a very clear business case, what you want to do very clear, the core team, and I'm going through these three series of bootcamp to really help train you guys. You must understand people's, some of the colleagues may require a little bit more support. So let's support them and help them to adjust to the change. Okay. And also, I think WeWa has been taking the leadership in all these things to test the system properly and also to make sure that we prepare all the inventory masters and all the things to help with the project. And of course, the old task will still be there for archival reasons. We will leave it in a corner for us to pull out any things. But we will not migrate all the transactions over to the system. All the PO, PR sales will be the old system, but we'll create, when we do go live, we'll create in a new system from a certain date onwards. So that's the end of my briefing from here. Any questions from any of you guys? Please feel free to ask.
Okay, anyway, Chipeng, thank you so much for all these things. I think basically, from all your presentation itself, I realized that I need to be more empathetic in terms of basically expecting everybody to take out the new ERP systems. I think my role itself is to really encourage and motivate, and then basically give I'm very confident of the super users over here. All right, the team.
Excellent. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm also very blessed with very good teamwork. So we're always helping each other. So I think basically for this new system, it is something that basically even for Yo, for him, he said, hey, why don't we don't take the system, So I guess he's actually quite IT. He's the one who actually explore a lot. But I said, hey, why don't we just stick to the same system? But I think basically, after going through this, okay, I think I also need to read out a little bit more about MS Dynamics, which I think it should be the way for the future. So I think it's important for me, as the leader for the company itself, to really sort of like encourage and motivate, and probably give a lot of recognition on this these changes that people have to go through, especially the super users, that they have to spearhead and make sure everybody is comfortable. They probably have to do the training also internally, and then they have to try on their own. They will have the extra time that they need to make. They need to do it on their own before they really can move out to the rest. And this is something that I will actually recognize. I will actually recognize these efforts, which I think these are the important efforts that lead to the success of the new ERP system, and then gradually improve the productivity of everyone. So I guess this is an important phase. Okay.
I just want to say that most companies who are revamping or implement ERP doesn't have what we have been doing, which is getting quite a number of people involved in the evaluation process. Okay, but thanks to Zoom, we can zoom in wherever we are, working from office, from home. And even when we're outside traveling, we can still zoom in. Second thing is that by going through this whole process and the few meetings that we had with the various people and through this boot camp, actually none of the other people go through boot. They just go in and whatever the vendor say, they need to listen to the vendor because there's no other source of truth. So actually all these things we're doing is to really help us to go ahead. But I always say there's still a lot of uncertainty and risk, not to scare you, but that's the reality. But I think being aware of these things will help us to go for this journey maybe in a braver way lah.
Yeah, I guess basically we really need to make a change lah. In fact, whether we need to make the change now or we need to make the change later, I think now is better because now we have the government support. I think it's the best time to change. And also that if we don't change, then we will be redundant now.
So it's like Obama say, be the change.
Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah, I mean, even for me itself, the fears that the people, I mean, just now you have actually mentioned a fear of change, anxiousness, all these things itself is as a human being, we will actually experience that.
Yeah, we need to recognize that and but we support that. So we cannot say, no, we don't hear that kind of thing. Some companies, they don't hear negative, which is then not positive. But we want to understand this and see how we can support each other because I think we have enough resources to go on to help each other. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank
Any
you
other things before we end?
Anything from any comments? I think Kai Kiat will have to also sort of like oversee the thing. Okay. So I also will also put him as one of the key personnel to look at all the things because I mean he's in charge of operations, so it'll be good for him to really learn the thing and also go through whatever the rest are also going through. I think it's good. So yeah.
Okay. So if not, then I'll see Viva and Kai Kiat tomorrow when we talk to Yvonne. If either one of you are coming in, then after that we will go down and meet the vendor next Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah. Correct. Okay. Good. Yeah.
Thanks everybody.
You so much. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.